Alright, we're going to do a message, but I don't know if this one's going to be more of a message or a talk. Because it's kind of interesting subject matter. Essentially, I'm going to tell you the story and then we're going to get to the details. This is for those that have the patience to watch. So, I've got a coworker who's a personal trainer, right? And she has a boyfriend that she brings in from time to time. And initially, when I first met her, we talked a little bit about NASM, how I'm doing the courses, and she gave me some very advice regarding tenses and how you're supposed to talk to people, which I hadn't heard before. That's very good advice. But she was one of those people that I told and I was expecting judgment, and she was very supportive, and I was like, this is awesome. All the personal trainers have been so great. So just knowledgeable and helpful and supportive. It's fantastic. But she brings in her boyfriend every once in a while, and one day I talked to him, and I just commented that I liked his shirt. It was a Dragon Ball Z shirt. We got to talking about how it was a Dragon Ball GT shirt, which GT was maybe the most controversial season because it's not really canon and it's kind of weird. But anyway, he was like, I liked it. And I was like, yeah, it was fine from what I saw. I didn't really watch all of it recently. I don't know. So we had this Dragon Ball Z moment, and that inspired me to get a Dragon Ball Z shirt off TikTok Shop. And that led to my entire algorithm being covered in anime related workout apparel and Dragon Ball Z stuff. So I told her that. I was like, just so you know, you need to tell your boyfriend, it's his fault my algorithm's ruined right now. So I guess she went home and told him that, I got all this Dragon Ball Z stuff on my feed. So then, next time I saw her, she was talking to someone else, another personal trainer, about a love spell. And this is peripheral hearing, mind you. This is I heard it from decently far away. It was supposed to be a private conversation. I try not to eavesdrop, but I am a hypervigilant person. I always am gathering information, and I connect dots intuitively. I don't need a lot of information in order to figure out what's going on. So, she's a witch, the one that was supportive of me. And I heard her talking about karma and protection, spiritual protection, and doing things the right way, from the right place. Because she was talking about obsession. It seems and I don't know all the way yet, it seems she's not averse to love spells, but she understands that it's control and obsession, and it has all of these darker aspects that are not what you want. And I'm of the opinion that love is born from truth and authenticity and genuine connection and love magic. There's a little bit of difference between trying to make someone fall in love with you and trying to draw someone into your life that you will love. One is innocuous, and it's more like manifestation or prayer, and it's almost passive with potentially ritual involved, but not over a specific person. And then there's trying to bend someone to you, which I feel different about. I don't like that. And there's going to be some nuance here. Some people are going to have their arguments as to why it's okay and blah, 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 blah. I'm not here to debate that. Even when they were having that conversation, I noticed, I took information in, I recognized, okay, you're a witch, you like spell work, but you don't practice. And I tried to understand where she was coming from, a moral, spiritual place. How much does she understand? And it seems like she's got her head on her shoulders. But she also had talked about getting her hair done that day, and she went a little bit darker. She already had dark hair, but she went darker, and that's what inspired me to dye my hair. I was at the grocery store picking up body wash, and I saw it there, and I was like, yeah, let's go. I've been blonde for a while now. I've got roots. Why not? So those things happened, and on the way home I was sitting there thinking about it, like, soul connections. I'm bonding with this guy over Dragon Ball Z, and maybe he thinks I like it more than I do, even though I do like Dragon Ball Z a lot. Today he came in and she was like, I have somebody to see you. And he comes in and he is like, Goku. That's all he says. And I'm like, what about him? And he goes, Vegeta? I like him too. And I'm like, what are we supposed to be talking about though? Like, you can't just name drop characters and expect me to carry, I can't carry a conversation on a good day. So I think we're going to have to find things to talk about that aren't Dragon Ball Z. But, you know, we're magnetizing friendships in. I think this is what that could be forming into. And with them being so fit and personal trainers, I can probably learn a lot from them simultaneously. But what I find really interesting is that today before she left, her boyfriend asked what this tattoo was. And what I say to all the muggles is I tell them that it's a symbol I made up when I was 11, which is true. Even if it was channeled, I made it up. And that it represents my family. And muggles pretty much understand, like, okay, it's some kind of family crest, like he made it up when he was a kid, all right. And they'll think it's weird, but they won't question further than that. But she goes, it looks like a sigil. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a sigil, it's an ancestral sigil. And that's all we really had time for. My attention got distracted. Somebody needed a manager for something. But I had fully intended on not concealing myself, but I was going to allow myself to fly under the radar. You know how it is. Whenever you're in a new environment and you don't know who's who yet, you allow people to make the assumptions about who they think you are. But she recognized what I am. So there's no point in hiding it now. I wouldn't have hidden it, ever. But there's a difference between exposing that part of you on purpose to someone that you know is in that community and allowing yourself to fly under the radar while you gather information. And I was gathering information. But now she recognizes. So, anyway, I was thinking about the fact that he came in with that shirt. I felt inspired to get a Dragon Ball Z shirt because I don't have any graphic clothes at all. Nothing representing bands or TV shows or my interests or anything. They're all plain. Everything I wear is plain. And this is the first graphic anything I've bought since I was a teenager. And it's almost like stepping into my personality a little bit more in an expressive way. And this guy, this random guy, inspired me to do that. And then suddenly, there's a witch personal trainer that might be friend material. And I'm like, both of these people were put in my path for a reason. And Spirit exposed me as what I am for a reason also. And maybe her spirit team didn't want her at a disadvantage, but even other witches don't usually recognize what this is. You know, they don't usually understand it. Even if they do recognize that it's something, most of the time they think it's a Chinese or Japanese character. Almost nobody over the course of the time that I've had this tattoo has looked at that and been like, that's a sigil. But she did. And speaking of intuition, that girl that I got the name wrong for a million times in a row, we're cool now. You know, she knows that I know her name. I'm calling her a shortened nickname version of her name now, because I don't think I used her real name. We'll call it, since she was Samantha, we'll call her Sam. That's a made-up name that I used for her. But she was talking about this spiritual retreat that she went on where she didn't speak for 30 days. And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I talk to myself all the time. And she was like, well, not speaking helps line you up with your intuition. And I was talking to her about how, like, I channel, and I said it by accident. I was like, I channel when I'm talking, like on camera, and when I'm moving my hands, doing things. And it was very interesting to see the way that she taps in versus the way I tap in. but I'm suddenly finding myself surrounded by spiritual people.